Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Kong. I'm the festival director for HAAPIFEST. I hope you enjoyed the first film of our night. Now I'd like to have a warm introduction for our director for A Piece Together, Jane Chow. She's coming in from LA, so welcome, Jane.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No, thank you for joining us. So the story that you unfold was a really important one that had a great message. Can you tell us why you made this film?
Yeah, I started thinking about this film. Well, to give a little context, I made this film in my final semester at Loyola Marymount University, so this is my senior thesis film. So when I started thinking about what kind of stories I want to challenge myself with, I started talking a lot with Peter Rafey, who's my writing partner. He was the writer of this film, and he's, in general, my filmmaking partner. We've worked on different projects together. We just found ourselves talking about how our families, so I'm from Hong Kong. I moved to the States for school, and Peter is Vietnamese American. We started talking about how our families kind of dealt with mental illness in kind of a very silent way. So Peter, he actually has a lot of people in his family, cousins, etc., who are on the autistic spectrum. And I know that autism is also really, really heavily stigmatized in Hong Kong. So we started talking about how mental health in Asian communities, it's a topic that people have touched on before, but we wanted to dive into it a little bit deeper and more specifically in how gender intersects with that. The more we start talking about it and researching and thinking about, what's a new angle that we can kind of talk about this issue of family and mental health and gender, we learned that women are very severely misdiagnosed in autism, and overall in the way that autism spectrum disorder presents itself in boys and girls is really different and very misunderstood. So we started really digging deeper, watching all kinds of videos of, even girls who are vlogging online who have said that they recently, were diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and what that meant for them. And just hearing stories of people, and we were inspired to tell the story and incorporate our own experiences of how mental health and autism spectrum disorder has impacted our families.
That's a great point that you brought up, and that you've been able to kind of hear a lot of personal stories on YouTube or, through social media technology.
Yeah.
Do you think that having this kind of platform will kind of help bring out more stories and destigmatize mental health and being unable to talk about it in the Asian community?
Yeah, I think social media is such a great resource for just, the fact that it allows people to share who they are, and it's unfiltered, and, that has its advantages and disadvantages, but at the same time, there's no barriers of entry for people who, want to talk about their experiences and other people who want to hear about their experiences. So I think not only for mental health, but for all kinds of areas of our lives that are influenced by prejudice, I think social media and the ability to share stories so openly, can help us interact with people that we wouldn't normally come across on a daily basis. So it can definitely open up more conversations.
And I wanted to ask, the actors and actresses that you used in the film, did they actually have autism, or did you consult with somebody to see how they can best portray somebody with autism?
Yeah, that's a great question. The actors themselves were not on the spectrum, but Hannah Wu, who plays Daisy, the main character, she was actually a licensed therapist before she became an actor. And she had worked with people who were on the spectrum before. And so I had actually worked with Hannah before on a previous project, but knowing her experience as a therapist, and also just loving working with her as an actress in general, I worked with her really closely. And we also worked with Joel and Grace, who played Danny and the grandma, very closely in rehearsals, in research, and sharing information back and forth. And like I said, sharing the videos and vlogs and personal experiences that we found online. So it was a combination of, a lot of in-person talk and also finding studies online and real like visceral material that we can draw from. And so, yeah, we definitely went through many different, there's a lot of back and forth, and it was definitely a very collaborative process in finding what's the best and most respectful way to portray this.
Right. That's really cool that you had that kind of additional resource to lean on. I wanted to talk about the content of the film. What was the representation of the time machine or the washing machine as the time machine? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the time machine. Well, there's so much. There's a lot of mystery surrounding this time machine in the film, right? I would say a lot of the meaning behind it is open to interpretation, but the main reason we incorporate this element of time travel in the film is mainly a tool for character growth for Daisy, because she is in this stage of her life, when she's been promoted to a position at work that requires more social skills, that's starting to make her feel insecure about herself, because she feels like her struggle with social skills makes her somehow broken. And so because of that, she started to distance herself from Danny. And so she's at this point where she has to be confronted with the things that she's avoiding all this time. Specifically in the dinner scene, as you saw, she was being kind of rude and dismissive to Danny. So we wanted to use a time machine as a tool for her to be a tool of confrontation, of, going back into a time and seeing from a new perspective how your actions and your words affected another person, and how some internalized prejudice played into that. Yeah.
That's really great. Can you tell us, are there any current projects that you're working on? Is it anything related to the subject matter, or are you exploring other topics?
Yeah, I'm actually at a kind of a different space than I was when I made this film, in that I've graduated since then. And because I'm an international student, as I mentioned, I'm from Hong Kong, so I'm here on a student visa. And so right now, my biggest commitment is actually trying to renew my visa to stay here and work here. I've realized that Hollywood is really where I would love to work. I think there's so much change happening here, and there just needs to be more and more progress. So I'm working towards that right now. It's a very extensive process. And because of my visa journey, right now I'm working mainly on short form content, like for client projects like music videos and commercials. There's a lot of choices in my career right now that are dictated by how I can stay here legally. So as much as I love narrative work, and that's where I found my love for directing, right now I'm focusing on different avenues just so I can secure my place here. And once I have the time to, I would love to get back into telling narrative stories and exploring themes like these.
That's really cool. And I know that you mentioned that you're originally from Hong Kong, but kind of from an outside perspective, 2020 is a really crucial year right now, with it being like a census year and election year. Just kind of from your outside perspective, why is it important, even during lockdown, to do our due diligence and be politically involved?
Yeah, that's
or just community involved.
Yeah, to be politically involved, I think it's even more important than ever. As a Hong Konger, I can say that our freedoms and rights have been slowly disintegrating. And as some people may have heard, China announced the national security law in Hong Kong, which can criminalize dissent, or all kinds of dissent. And because of that, political involvement is, it's definitely something that's really important. Because if we have the ability to be politically involved, if we have the ability to have a say in our government and in our policies, that's something we should take advantage of. And as you can see in Hong Kong, because that's our political involvement, or the extent of that is slowly being taken away from us, the city is becoming, the freedom of our people and the livelihoods of people are being compromised. So I would definitely encourage, because democracy is so so strongly upheld here in the States to take advantage of the tools and rights that you do have, and to create change for the better, because it's more important now than ever. And yeah, as a Hong Konger, I hope that eventually we can have the same amount of political involvement as well. And hopefully, I think our situations with the Hong Kong protests and with Black Lives Matter going right now, I think there are so many ways that mutually inform each other. I think if we both commit to becoming and maintaining our political involvement, then we can definitely, help each other in our mutual struggle and our fight.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
One last question. For those that want to rewatch 𝗧𝗢𝗘𝗘𝗏, is there any way that they can catch it on another screening or platform?
Yeah, 𝗧𝗢𝗘𝗘𝗏 is screening in some other festivals. Most recently, next weekend, it will be screening at the Dead Center Film Festival in Oklahoma. And in terms of online distribution, my team and I are still figuring exactly how to go about that, but we eventually hope to make it available online for free for people to watch.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And then for those that are interested, we have the social media below that you can reach Jane on, as well as follow her so that you can get all of this detailed information about the upcoming screenings. Thank you so much for joining us, Jane.
Thank you.
We hope you have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Bye. So next up, we have our feature film, Find Me. Joe is an accountant who is on a downward spiral after a recent divorce, and his only solace is his coworker and his office wife, Amelia, who thinks he needs to get out more. It isn't until Amelia suddenly disappears for a few weeks that Joe decides to take her advice in an effort to find her. Following the film, we'll have the director Tom Huang and actress Sarah Amini for a live Q&A. So please enjoy the next show.